This is really awesome because a longtime friend is joining Bravewords Streaming for Vengeance, Mr. Wolfgang Rott, with a resume the length of his arm, maybe both arms, but particularly 35 years of CMM. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
This is it's a huge milestone. Communication management marketing based out of Germany. Give us a little bit of background on what CMM means.
Well, it means we're a company for music, for loads of other things. And when we started, it was more like working for press for bands as one of the first independent PR companies, and which is like 35 years ago. Oh, so and there was a German band called Axis, which we started with. EMI came to me and said, "Well, can you do something for this band?" And we sold over 100,000 units for a debut German rock band or metal band. So, and that's where everything started. We toured with Black Sabbath, we did everything. Then more and more metal bands came, and then other things. Then I got a team. Then we did more work. We did quite everything like Steamhammer did for years, which included Whitesnake, Doro, Savatage, whoever. And in the 80s, well, somewhere 84, 85. I met Rod Smallwood from Maiden, and but at the time he did Halloween and all the other things.
Right.
So we started working for, at that time it was Sanctuary Records as well, which was former Castle Records. So we had a ton of products. And we, as I said, we did Halloween, we did Bruce's solo stuff. And I think the first Maiden record we worked with was Virtual X. And but that was like when EMI was still involved, and we didn't host all the interviews, but we became friends, especially Rod and the Sanctuary people. And so then from then on, we did like everything. And when the reunion was in 2000, I went to LA. We met everybody. I flew with two journalists, with Bruce in a little Cessna over Bel Air, and so that's what it is. And talking about all the products we did, I think that would take off like a week or something like that.
Well,
Besides,
anybody watching this and listening to all the name dropping, I know you're not name dropping, but it's so fascinating that you've been like knee deep in all these legends for decades.
that's true. I was lucky to meet the right people at the right time, and probably we did something right. So they stayed with us when, for example, like I talked to Rod just a while ago, and they sent me a congratulations video for the 35 years.
Oh, nice.
You might see later on our channels, and we're going to start on October 14th or 15th with that kind of things, and then post like every week. But coming back, it's I met like the Savatage guys, so we working with Savatage and then TSO since 95. So we're talking about almost the whole period when the CMM was existed. Same thing as with Maiden, with all the others, and that many more. We have very long relationships. We worked for Wacken for, I don't know, 8, 10 years. We started with them when they had like 15,000 people, and when our contract ran out, they had 45 to 50.
Right.
And we're still friends. And so some of the bigger events, like the big Scorpions thing at Wacken in 2006, came out of our ideas, and some others as well. So the 215 TSO Savatage so in Wacken as well.
Right.
We worked for other festivals. And so coming back to all the legends, it's sometimes it was for me as well like a dream. It's just meeting Ronnie James Dio and sitting with him in the wardrobe talking about private things, and being on a promo trip with Alice Cooper, uh, Lemmy, and so on. And it's like David Coverdale, blah blah blah. Should have made a list, but I didn't want to do all the name droppings. But beside that, we did loads of smaller bands and newcomers. And with our SOL system, we still do that today. And meanwhile, as even more established bands come to us, and they say, well, in these days, unless a record company is really committing, uh, hold on, I've got to get rid of that. Uh, um, you need a PR company. You need somebody who helps you in marketing, and
Right.
you need some kind of digital and physical distribution, and all these things we can deliver.
Right.
And on top of that is like the nice things like 70,000 tons of metal, the cruise thing where Andy got me in even 2 years prior to the first cruise. So we were there right from the beginning,
Right.
made all the steps. And what can I say? It's just like it's a long story. And that sometimes when you go back, especially on that anniversary thing, when you really go back in history, and you have forgotten things, and then you talk to somebody, say, "Oh yeah," and
I hear you.
and it's sometimes when we were just preparing that stuff, and they say, "Okay, I'm going to get some videos from somebody," and I told them, "Please don't send like happy anniversary. If you have, come up with a story."
Right.
And it's funny. It's like Bobby Blitz told the story when the first time we were traveling in my car on a promo trip, and he looked at the speed thing and said, "Wolfgang, are we doing 200?" And all this little things, and well, to make a long story short, it's a great time. I met so many great people, and on the other hand, it was a roller coaster. It's like business went up, went down. We had a few disasters as well, which was not really our fault, but you meet the wrong people and they fuck you up. But we stood up again and we're still here.
Well, you turned 35, Bravewords turns 30, and I'll never forget meeting you for the first time at Wacken. And this little kid from Canada gets to see this massive outdoor festival. Like I'd never seen anything like it. And at the same time, I was able to meet you, but it's just really surreal just to walk into that environment because now it's a little different, but because there are a few bigger festivals, but nothing compares to the festivals in Europe and particularly Germany and particularly Wacken.
That's true. Wacken always had the spirit. And I remember, as I said, is when we started working together, they had 15,000. So
Right.
and you see it growing and growing, and things be added and things be changed, and all the side things like the Wacken Foundation and all the other things which came out, and the Metal Battle thing, which meanwhile is a worldwide thing. So that's fascinating.
Um, can we go back a little bit? Tell me about like your actual education and when you actually looked in the mirror and said, laying everything down, music is my life.
Well, I started after high school, and I studied like a civil serviceman. I worked for the city council,
Okay.
and probably if I'd stayed there, I would have retired, and I don't know, maybe I would be dead. So
Dead of boredom.
yeah, and it was not a bad time, but I decided with myself when Frank Bornemann from a German band Eloy came to me, and I at the time I played myself in the band, and I did some roadie work, and I organized stuff, and so he came and said, "Hey, we want somebody who's doing our management in Hanover," and sorry for that, and so I came in, and so the first time I learned how a record company works, how publishing works, how touring works, and that was the start. And after that, like I had a short thing we worked with Eric Burden and John Mayall, and then Joe Cocker came, and I was 4 years. I was Joe Cocker's tour manager. So it developed and developed, and well, then some things went wrong. That was the first time when somebody really screwed me. But and I went 2 years to Hamburg and was working at Docks and Großer, two of the biggest clubs, and I learned a lot about like little shows and bigger shows. And then when my son was born, I came back to Hanover and I started CMM. And that was due to Eli, we were with EMI, and that Axis came and Joe Cocker was with EMI. So that was a connection when Axis started. And I have to say, even it was a roller coaster, it was the best decision of my life because I do what I love. I meet great people. Uh, I traveled a lot, and I have a great team around me. There's 8 people. We work in a like a family, and it's all kind of. I think the youngest is like 23. The oldest behind me is 60, and everything in between. So that's really like a family.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
our relationships mostly with bands, with managements, with record companies is very it lasts very long. With artists longer because most of the time the guys at the record company don't stay for years, so they're changing
Sure.
occasionally. And well, what can I say? It's eh, for me because like the last couple of weeks when we prepared this anniversary thing, I had to go so often into history and took things, and it was like things popping up.
Right.
And sometimes, okay, it's my head is full of some things, so you just gotta adjust them and put them in the right order.
Well, at the end of the day, this is all a testament to you and your leadership skills and your personality, right?
I am what I am, so that's the only thing I. But when you, I think I'm proud about the long-lasting relationships
Yeah.
because that what counts for me. And it was never. It's like going for the quick dollar because I don't think this is what makes it, but a friendship which lasts long and a trust and things. This is what it's all about. And sometimes it's great when you take over like a young band and you can help them and guide them to something and or even like the established bands when they accept you as a person and trust your word. And even on the management side, it's like I work with David Krebs, who was Aerosmith, Scorpions, God knows.
Right.
And we were talking on an eye to eye level. And he's still like when I was not even 30 or something like that. And it was like he was a star in my mind in the management area. And so, and then Rod Smallwood came in, which is the other big guy in that area. And there's many more. It's like if I can't even name them all, but it's one of the great things, like for me personally, is to know people not only from the business side, know them from the private side as well.
Right. Right. You say roller coaster. I think it's still a roll. I think rock and roll will always be a roller coaster, right?
Absolutely. It's like, well, everything was right then the pandemic came and we
Yeah.
had to survive that. We did. We're doing better than ever. And meanwhile, we're doing things. It's like we are the press agency for EMP, which is the biggest mail order. So we're going in that area as well. We work for festivals like ROCKHARZ and other things. So there's a little bit diversified our areas. And as well, the way promoting things is like you don't send physical CDs out anymore. You don't talk too much. You very often you send short messages or emails or whatever, or you have video conferences.
Like this
Uh,
one.
yeah, and so that changed, and as well, the way you promote stuff is different. And I was always a believer that you have to get emotion into your projects because there's one of the things I repeat myself very often is that without emotion, there's no excitement.
Right.
It's not only algorithms or numbers. It's so much in between. And but that's maybe it's an old school philosophy because when I am in sometimes in meetings and people come up, the numbers say that and the algorithm said that, and it's it still works. And I think the good thing for me is having the young kids in the office as well, so that opens your mind for new things. Because when social media came, it was like, okay, Facebook is okay. Uh, what is like Instagram and TikTok and wow.
Yeah.
And I had to make my way into it, but I'm still sometimes when or like some computer programs I can handle it. But if there's a problem, I say, help.
Yeah. Would you recommend this as a career? If some kid came up to you, said, I want to jump into the music business, what would you say to him or her?
I think going back more than 35 years because it's um much longer. It was a different time. You have challenges. It's there was no university teaching PR or not, especially not music or marketing. And indeed, today you go to a university, you have your special course and stuff like that. And in my time, and now I'm talking like a very old man, and or my grandfather did something like that. It's I learned every angle of this business, so I know how like a crew works. I know how what technical problems are. Even today, it's like I did sound 100 years ago. If I see the guys at the soundboard, I say, "What the hell? I had no idea what to do now." But they all specified. They specialists in their areas, and it's we were challenging from one thing to another. It's like there was no books where you can read how to do this and that. I was tour manager at times. There was no cell phones, not even a laptop, anything. It's like you had coins in your pocket because you need like the old phones with coins. I think young people don't even know what that is, and it's and it was the communication was a total different thing. So you be on the phone or you're writing letters, or then it came like we had telex and then telefax was coming, which today is old fashioned. And it was slower because you had a request and you knew that at the time, okay, it's going to take a couple of days until you get a response.
Now
And
it's,
that's now if you don't react within 10 minutes, you say, hey, what's going on? So I had much more time to develop my skills, and loads of it came out of experiencing the work. I don't say that's a great thing, because sometimes if somebody has told me don't do that, I would save a lot of money
yeah,
and maybe a lot of time. So I still believe if you really have a passion for it, it is a challenging and very interesting job. Or it's not a job. It's something, well, I don't know the English word in the moment. It's like a passion.
yeah,
And but if you think, okay, making a quick dollar, I don't know.
that's
I
not,
think that it's
I said, that's a lottery win if you get the quick dollar.
yeah. So you have to be, or like work-life balance.
Yeah.
This is something because it just won't work. If there's a show at 8 o'clock, you have to be ready regardless. And I remember shows where the truck was late, etc. So we had just a couple of hours. Everybody was working to get this thing going. And they could
Right.
say, okay, now it's my lunch break. Fuck it.
No,
Sorry. But it's, and I think it's a mentality thing. So you really have to be aware it is, and again, it's a passion. If it's just a job, find something else.
I hear you. I hear you. Let's talk about some of my favorite things. Well, 70,000 tons of metal. Let's dig a little bit deeper in that because when I first walked onto that cruise ship, I didn't know. Like life really truly changed. That that new business model. It really, and everyone I talk to, it's like there's not a vibe like that in any outdoor venue or indoor, whatever. You know what I mean? It's there's nothing like that spectacle.
Absolutely. And I remember when Andy called me, we knew each other for whatever, at that time for more than 10, 15 years, but I haven't seen him for months because he moved from Switzerland to Canada.
Right.
And he said, Wolfgang, we have this idea, or I have this idea. Would you consider in doing PR and marketing in Europe? And he explained it to me, and I said, wow, this is so crazy. This is a real challenge. So there was 2 years, and he put so much work in it. He was looking what kind of ships and what could we do there. And so all that part was done by him. And I was talking to people, like to press people. Andy and I, we visit musicians. And the first reaction was very of what, I'll be locked up in a ship for 4 or 5 days
Yeah.
and there's no backstage area. No. This is too risky. And so we had to talk them in, and it took a while. And as well, it's like press people say, Wolfgang, cruise ships? This what for my parents or my grandparents? Why should we go on a cruise ship? So nobody could really imagine what it is. Even I won't forget the day, the first cruise in 2011, when we arrived in Miami and you saw the majesty of the sea. You see this big wide thing and like all the normal people coming from the ship, and I say, okay, how is that gonna be? And it was right from the beginning. It's like I had at that time it was the first cruise. I had German national TV. I had other TV stations. I had Stern, which is one of the biggest magazines. I don't know, everybody on there because they were jumping on this crazy idea. And I know we had a station, they were expecting we're gonna trash the whole boat.
Yeah. Or at least sink.
And yeah, and so everybody was surprised how easy, and even like the cruise line in the beginning said, wow, you can't name the ship, you can't name the brand from the cruise line, blah blah blah. and you can't talk to the captain, etc. And everybody was looking. It's like all of a sudden the whole ship is full of black dress, long hair, bomb throwers, and uh, and then they realized these are nice people.
Yeah.
There's no conflicts. They drink a lot of beer, but that's it. There's no fights. They're very humble, and that's what the cruise guys told us. And in the end, like even the captain did in a TV interview, and he said, "Well, it was a very great experience. How nice these people are." And I know he would never say that in front of the camera, but loads of people said these people are much nicer at very often regular cruise guys.
Absolutely.
And so, and then it started. It was just like, okay, we were growing and sold out and sold out. And but now we go into, what's that, 14th next year?
Yeah, I think it's 14. Yes.
Yeah. And which is a long time. And it's still successful. We had this 1 year with the pandemic where we hadn't a cruise, but we had the last one before the whole thing started, and everybody was worried what's going to happen. Are people scared to go? But they come, and even prices go up and through the roof everywhere, and but the people still come. And if you just we got, I think last time, well, at least over 70 nations on board.
Yeah.
And that includes people from Syria and Israel and Azerbaijan and Japan and like all over the place. Even I remember Fiji Islands that was saying, wow, how did he make that? Or she, I don't know. And that's the atmosphere, is the United Nations at sea.
And that's one of the main things that Andy's proud of, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this idea is so excellent, and it still counts. And if you see, it's even like the like the visitors, is you got a bank director, and you got like the guy from the garage who's saving all his money to go there. So it's like this two ends of like the income streams. The one is like he paying for his cabin, it's just like out of his whatever stamp money or whatever. And the other one is literally puts like $50 to $50 until he can afford it. And but you won't see this difference on the vessel.
No.
And I think that's the atmosphere. Is like, and as well as like for the artists, I will never forget when on the first cruise, when, because I drove to Blind Guardian about 3 4 times, talking them in, and they say, in the end they came. And on the last show, I went backstage, and they hugged me and thank you, and said thank you that you talked us in.
Wow.
Or Uli John Ross was when he was there, and it was like, usually before I went to bed, I always did a round. So it was like 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And I saw Uli John Ross in the bar sitting with like 3 fans. And I said, Uli, what are you doing here? He said, oh, Wolfgang, I still can't believe it. I thought I'm going to lock myself up for 4 days, but this is one of the greatest experiences I ever made. And this is just two examples about the atmosphere and all this, what this ship does, or see all the self-organized things, like fans organize these pre-cruise things in Miami Beach. This has nothing to do with 70K. It's organized by the survivors,
Yeah.
how we call the guys. So
I must, excuse me, I must make note that I was in the bar with Uli John Roth once as well.
here we go.
It was a hoot. It was a hoot. You have like another couple of minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, let's have some fun. And
Okay.
well, you are one of my rock stars for sure. No, seriously. And I love this new little segment that I've been doing the last few months. It's called the Bravewords Rapid Fire. So some left and right field questions. So the first
That
one,
sounds dangerous.
and even the metal god answered this. What's your favorite song on British Steel?
Ouch. Never asked me for song names beside a very few ones.
What is the best food on the road and where?
Well, there's several places.
Yeah.
I can recommend Nico's Rock and Roll Ribs, which is the best ribs I ever had. There is a currywurst food in Berlin, like a German currywurst, and there's a. I think it's I'm very diverse in those kind of things. So there's not the one. It depends on your mood and the atmosphere, etc.
So who is your rock star or metal god or goddess?
I even well, it's not only because I know him very well. It's Bruce Dickinson. He's the guy. He is in so many different areas, and he's a great time. One of my personal rock stars is Ronnie James Dio because he's one of the greatest guy I ever met. And there's a couple more, but if you ask for one or two, that's it.
Just going back to Bruce and Maiden, I find it absolutely unbelievable that this year we saw not only Bruce Dickinson headlining European festivals and the whole Maiden, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I can think of any other band. You don't see Bono from U2, you don't see the dude from Coldplay, you know what I mean? Here's two big entities. Yeah, maybe Bruce isn't as big as Maiden, but I was just, oh, and the Project is such an incredible record, but I can't think of any other band.
True.
Mick Jagger,
It's
do it.
yeah, but yeah, I think the point is Bruce managed to keep it as an own project. It's not a side project. It's his own project when he has time. It was the same thing when he wrote his book, which
Right.
is, by the way, an excellent book. And I love to. I was on the road with him, but promoting that book. And but he is when he finished the Bruce Dick and the Mandrake tour in Greece, he said, "Okay, now we're switching on to Maiden mode," and they played Edward the Great in Greece. That
Yeah.
was the switch to Maiden.
Wow.
Now he's on tour with Maiden in Southeast Asia, and now I think they in LA today or something like that. So the other thing and the energy, it's how crazy is that? It's like you tour in what is that, 2.5 months on your own thing, then you got like, not even a couple of weeks, just a few weeks, then you move on to Maiden, then you have another tour going on, and so when they've done this leg and finish in South America, then they have a break, and they starting again with a new set in Europe.
Yeah. So,
It's tell me any other band in that age
yeah,
who can do that,
nobody
and
can.
you can see it's when you look at the audience, there's people 14 and there's people who are 75.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think maybe Metallica might be the only one that is at that
Yeah,
level, right, that can go literally anywhere. You look at all
yeah,
the cheesy pop bands, they're not playing these great third world countries. Like, but all these metal bands, or not all, but like the key ones, they can play anywhere on the planet.
yeah. That's true. And when you see is like it's, I was never in my life like a diehard fan. It was like give up everything. Maybe because I had the other side and I didn't have to be uh, a super fan. I always saw the persons behind the star, and that's what it was important for me. And it's I met the Metallica guys one or two times. They're nice guys as well, but I don't know them that well as I know the Maiden guys. And it's I think that's all in an own class. When you see, for example, like talking Maiden, Steve Harris, when he plays with British Lion, he plays clubs.
Yeah.
He sleeps in a nightliner. He queues up for the shower in the club.
Yeah.
On one hand, and on the other hand, they stay in the nicest hotels. They fly in an own airplane. So, and they do that because they want to.
Yeah.
Nobody's forcing. I don't think money is an issue. There's nothing. It's just like to be on stage and be together with the audience. And I think if you on a maiden show, it's like when you see the energy coming from stage and backwards from the audience to the band, it's just amazing.
Did you ever think we would see such a resurgence in vinyl? And do you remember your first vinyl record you bought or were given?
The first vinyl record was either Sweet or Manfred Mann.
Okay.
At the time, there was no CD, so it was vinyl.
Yeah, of course.
As I'm so old. But in these days, if you see numbers, for example, we promoted the whole Savatage catalog in vinyl the last year. And when you see we charted the German official charts, we easily reached the top 20, which is crazy.
They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. All those pressings.
And I think there's some the record company people really thought about it. They did great packaging. And I think that's the point. It's like for me, I believe it's more or less for many people, it's just a merchandise item. Like if you have a great painting or something like that, people collect vinyl. And on the other hand, I know people buy vinyl, but they listen to Spotify when they want to listen to the song, which is crazy, but it is what it is. So
I'm one of the crazy ones. Do you have a gig that you shouldn't have turned down? Was there any gig that you were offered that you said, no, thank you? And then you turned the next day and said, fuck, what did I do?
well, maybe not the next day, but after a while. It was like a German band, Fury in the Slaughterhouse.
Okay.
I said, well, it's not metal. It was a rock thing. And I said, I heard the demos. And I said, and then it became like gold albums, etc. And in metal, sometimes you can't have it all. That's what it is. So sure, sometimes I would like to work for somebody, and there's somebody else, and I like when people are loyal. So even when I believe, okay, I could do it better, but they're loyal, so it's fine with me. It's I never got jealous or something like that, and it was sometimes for myself, I get angry when there's a product which I believe is great and you could do so much with it, and it just gets sunk.
Yeah. That's
But
a life learning lesson, though. You have to take away the positive from your failures.
yeah, and it's there's nothing really I regret. I know I made mistakes in my life, like everybody, but and I fell down on my knees, but I always stood up.
Yeah.
And I think this is the advice I can give to everybody. It's like there's you can fall down. That's not important. The important time you just have to stand up one more time, then you stumble. That's simple.
Last question, what does the future of CMM hold?
Wow, if I would know that.
That's the answer I wanted.
Well, the point is like I'm in an age where you got to think, okay, how long do you want to do that? I have a great team, so they can even now they can work without me. And I think it's like with this team, we get more and more like brand development, which means band development as well, but brand development as well on other things. And I have great copywriters so writing uh, great stories. And I believe that I hate that. Uh, I believe that with all uh, um, AI, etc., which sometimes people believe, okay, that can replace a good writer. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I think you gotta get emotion across. And algorithm don't create emotion. That's my big hope. On the other hand, you can see fake news. It's like we had just with this Maiden Netflix thing. Even I said, well, this is so, it must be official. Until I said, oh, I haven't seen anything on Maiden's website. I haven't anything. There's some rules. So I called the management and it's 100% fake.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, it went all over the place. And you can't blame anybody because it's well, I'm pretty sure it's AI or whatever that or somebody very smart. I don't understand why somebody does that,
No, no.
but it is what it is. And you can see if you go into politics, etc. It's like people seems to have fun to screw up people
Yeah.
or fake things. And I think in these days, what's missing is positive thinking. All in even in politics, everywhere is like everything is bad and you are shitty and you do this. It's always pulling people down instead bringing them up. And I think this is what really scares me.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I believe we got to stand up as long as we can, and then we'll see.
Thank you for what you do. And I can't wait to see you on a boat in a couple of weeks.
Me too. So I'm going on the boat in a couple of weeks because we have a retreat with this 70K team. So being in Florida for a couple, now I pray that hurricane
Yeah, that's
leaves.
okay, right? Right now. Like right now. It's
Yeah,
pretty
I was talking to a friend of mine in yesterday, and he said some of the musicians I know who live like St. Petersburg and Tempe, they probably get evacuated
yeah.
because it's sometimes I'm so happy that we're here in Germany in Hanover. It's flat, so we don't have floods.
And here too.
There's no hurricanes, so we moan if it rains too much or something like that.
No,
Yeah.
it's too much.
Well, we
Right?
don't have that much snow anymore. It was so it's good to talk to you.
Yes, pleasure.
And